Now let's get into some JavaScript. So your expectation from me for this class is to be able to copy and paste some pre-written JavaScript and not write your own. So if you can copy and paste, you can use JavaScript. So some common uses of JavaScript include Google Analytics, which is a free and easy way to track usage on your site, Galleria.io, and other type of slideshows built in JavaScript, and jQuery, a library of pre-written JavaScript for creating user interfaces and more. We'll get into JavaScript and jQuery more specifically in a minute. So important things to think about when you're using JavaScript, just like in real estate, location, location, location. So where you place the JavaScript code matters. So you have to think through carefully where your code will go. And usually if you're using someone else's code, they'll explain where it goes. So we'll see this in Google Analytics in a second. It used to be that Google Analytics would go at the end of the page, but now it goes in the head. So they've rewritten the code a little bit. So we'll do this on our example website, but the Google Analytics script will go in the head of your HTML. jQuery stuff also goes at the top of the HTML in the head. So what's the difference? If it deals with the structure of the site, it probably needs to go near the top, if not in the head. And if it deals with things that happen once the site is loaded, then the JavaScript may need to go near the bottom of the page. So just get into some jQuery by itself. jQuery is a kind of JavaScript library. So different kinds of libraries in the world for different kinds of information. So think about Gutman Library is kind of a general library, but in Center City, they have a medical school library, which has medical school information. So jQuery works the same way. For interaction, there's a jQuery UI library. And another example of a different jQuery library is reveal.js. So I used to use this for my own website. My personal website was built in reveal.js. I've changed it since then, but it's a presentation framework that you can use to make websites. So I did that for my website for a long time. But we're going to get into some JavaScript using jQuery right now here. So at the jQuery website, there's different kinds of JavaScript jQuery that you can use. So the one that I would want to show you is the jQuery user interface. So here they give you different kinds of ways to use jQuery on your websites. So let's look at some widgets. So one type of widget is an accordion. So click on these, and then you see information slide in and out. And then all the code you need is down here. So here's an entire HTML file with just this piece of the accordion. And I'll bring your attention to two scripts. So in the head, here's a script for the jQuery entire library. So it's up to version 1.12.4. And then here's a script for the specific jQuery UI library. So we have to reference two libraries, this one and this one, plus some other scripts here. And then you can use these divs here to make it look like this. And there's all sorts of other kinds of widgets you can use. So you can make buttons similar to what we were doing in HTML. You can make checkboxes or radio boxes or radio buttons. You can make sliders. So this is 0%, this is 100%, something like that. You can make tabs similar to your accordions. Again, the source is all here. date picker. So you've picked a date on a calendar before. This is a built-in way to do it. And beyond these widgets, you can also make different interactions. So you can take this and drag this around. So that's kind of fun. If you ever clicked and dragged files to upload somewhere, you can do it using jQuery. You can make resizable elements. So those are interactions. You can also do other things like effects. So this box will change depending on what kind of effect we run on it. So right now it's set for the blind effect. So that's like vertical blinds, like for a window. Click run effect, it goes away. We have other options here. So how about explode? So you can do all sorts of fun things for your stuff. Maybe puff. How about slide? So it slides in. We have other things here like toggle. So you can take it out or bring it back in. Pulsate out, pulsate in. So all sorts of different kinds of things you can do with jQuery. Now remember, in practice, you'll need a link to both the jQuery JS file and a link to the specific library file. Either you download it yourself in your jQuery, or you use the special link that they give you here from their website. So let's do some. Now, I'm not going to step you through the process of setting up your own Google account, but it's free. So if you have a Google account, if you go to analytics.google.com, you'll get to here. And if you click Start Measuring, it'll step you through the process of setting up your own Google Analytics account. So once you've done that, if you need help, I can give you some help on setting it up. But once you get to there, here's my website analytics. So here is the homepage. Here's a dashboard of what's happening on my personal homepage at the moment. So Friday, I had a bunch of readers. And then it gives you a whole bunch of kinds of information. So a certain page got a lot of hits on Friday. Most people saw this on mobile. Some saw it on desktop. Even fewer saw it on tablet. So it gives you all this information, just a little bit of text, a little bit of code. So to get that code, go down to the bottom, the corner here, admin. And then under property, you want to go to tracking info, and then tracking code. And then this is the code you need to drop into your HTML. So I'm going to do that, copy this. And it tells you, this is a global site tag tracking code for this property, which is my homepage, not my example website. Copy and paste this code as the first item into the head. So first thing under head of every page you want to track. So let's go back to my code. This is my CSS. We'll go to my HTML, scroll way to the top. First thing is head. And then I'll drop it in right here. So the first thing in my head is this global site tag. So here's some JavaScript here, Google Tag Manager, and then a bit of JavaScript code here, and then that's the end. Now, this is not going to show up as part of my example website, you're not going to see anything back here. But if this was a live situation, then anything or anyone who came to this site, or anytime this site gets used, it'll get tracked in Google Analytics. So just to get back to analytics for a second here, there's all sorts of information, all for free. Here's a real-time look, my website. So no one's on my site at the moment. My audience over the last few days, big jump on Friday. Some people were looking at it on Monday. No one was looking at it on Tuesday or Wednesday, but then I got a nice spike on Friday. You can see what browser people are using. So since most of my users were mobile, they were probably iPhone users because they were using Safari. And the data shows that most of them are using iOS. So all of this is really great information for knowing your users and tailoring your designs to those users. So next thing I want to show you is something fun called LOL Cat Clock. So at the moment it's 11:50 or 11:19 p.m. And so right now the cats know that it's evening time. And here are 3 different times that you can set, and then something happens here. So this is very interactive. If we want the cats to wake up right now, we can set the time for between 11 and 12 from 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. And now the cats wake up. So let's switch this off. We can set a lunchtime for now so that they have lunch. Let's have some lunch. So let's switch this back to something else. And we can set a nap time for them using this. Drop down. And now they're sleeping tight. And you can press this button for instant party time whenever you want. So this is just a fun thing that's like viral on the internet years ago. If you want to try this on your own, here's some code. So here's HTML, here's some CSS to give you this all here. And then here's the JavaScript. I'm not expecting you to write any of this or recreate this on your own, but here it explains nicely how it builds from these variables. And then once you've established these variables, you can select different things and then different pictures show up. So here, it's nicely explaining what's happening here. If anyone wants to dive into this a little more, I can step you through it, but I'm not expecting you to write any of this. So a lot of this is going to be saved for later in your web design career. And if you want to download all of this code and try it yourself, I put a link in Canvas. You can download the code directly from here, and then you can play around with it yourself. But for your project, all I'm asking you to do for your project is copy and paste some kind of JavaScript into your site. Google Analytics is a great first thing to do for your project, because you should always have some analytics to go with your site to see how well it's going. So that's all I'm asking you to do for your projects. So again, I copied this from my admin tracking info under tracking code and dropped it in at the very beginning of my page. And that's JavaScript.